Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. Several resolutions are now being passed around the Senate to dismiss Vice President Duterte's impeachment trial even before it begins. And no surprises here. One of the documents came from the office of VP's ally, Senator Bato de la Rosa.
And over at the lower chamber, the daily wage hike of 200 pesos for private workers has been passed. Call it historic since this could be the first legislated across-the-board pay increase in the country since 1989.
And Malacanang is open to tweaks in PUV modernization after the Transportation Secretary himself admitted that the program is no longer viable in its present form.
Anumang kumakalat na resolusyon, mere scrap of paper unless may mag-file niyan.
Enough with the dribbling. You are not the spectators. You are the court. Let the trial begin.
At first, he denied knowledge of the resolution to dismiss Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment. But Senator Bato de la Rosa later on came clean and said he is the author of one of the documents that has since been circulating in the Senate for signatures. That's a big story tonight from Mobile Journal, Julie Baiza.
This was Senator Bato de la Rosa's reaction this morning when asked about a circulating draft resolution to declare the de facto dismissal of the impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte. Senate President Cheese Escudero was quick to deny of a document of that sort filed at the upper chamber.
Anumang kumakalat na resolusyon na wala namang author na pinakita lamang din sa akin ng media ay ika nga mere scrap of paper unless may mag-file niyan.
But several hours later, Senator Bato is singing a different tune on where the resolution came from.
Galing yun. Galing sa office ko.
The draft resolution from De La Rosa's office cites how the impeachment case started by the 19th Congress cannot cross into the next. As Senate rules state, all pending matters and proceedings shall be terminated at the end of each Congress. Of course, the 20th Congress can still take up Sara's ouster if it's presented to it for the first time. In short, a fresh start. According to De La Rosa, the resolution was a product of inputs from other senators who want the impeachment trial dead.
Meron kong tatanungan, kasama ko, sinakonsulta. Nababasa ko sa kanila yung draft.
Ipafile niyo po.
Titingnan ko.
The staunch Duterte ally claims there are 3 similar draft resolutions circulating at the Senate. He doesn't know where this came from, but De La Rosa says he is willing to collaborate with other authors to come up with the best version of the dismissed resolution. Senator Amy Marcos also confirmed seeing these resolutions. So did Senator-elect Ping Lacson, who said he got a copy from a Senate insider. He also revealed that signatures are already being gathered, so the issue can be debated upon and possibly adopted if it has the support of the majority. Senator Jinggoy Estrada also received a copy of the document. In fact, he says this has been in circulation as early as Monday, but he is not changing his stance.
It is our constitutional duty to hear the impeachment case against any impeachable officer.
Senator J.B. Ejercito echoed his brother's sentiment, while outgoing Senator Coco Pimentel called the resolution's logic flawed and its constitutional references inaccurate. Other senators, meantime, had this to say about the document that would outright dismiss VP Duterte's impeachment trial.
Wala pa akong nakikita ganun.
Sinabi ko noon, importante, kung walang ebidensya, bakit pa natin patagalin ito? Ayoko naman pong maging impartial bilang isa sa magiging possible judge dito sa impeachment court.
For House members who impeached Duterte, this development at the Senate is nothing but a nightmare, something they were afraid will happen after the presentation of the articles of impeachment was pushed back from June 2nd to June 11.
Well, something fishy, no? Gumagante, may pinoproteksyonan talaga sa nangyayaring yan.
Paasa at gaslighting ang ginagawa na sa laban sa mamamayang Pilipino. The plenary is not supreme. The people are supreme.
With the impeachment seemingly in limbo, groups behind the complaints against Duterte say there's no other way now but to try the VP for high crimes.
To the senators, enough with the dribbling. You are not the spectators. You are the court. Let the trial begin and let the evidence be laid bare.
De Lima, a former senator herself and now one of the House prosecutors, insists that the impeachment complaint is not comparable to a law that has to be refiled once one Congress ends. Her suggestions to sitting and incoming senators: file a counter motion against the resolution to dismiss Duterte's trial.
Immaterial pa yung numbers ngayon kasi di pa natin pinag-uusapan yung conviction. Ang sinasabi pa lang natin, ituloy yung impeachment trial, ipakita yung ebidensya, and then maglatag din siya kung gusto niya ng depensa niya.
Next week, the Tindig Pilipinas coalition, where De Lima belongs, will be holding an ecumenical service and vigil outside the Senate grounds to pressure the upper chamber to finally start trying the vice president. If nothing comes out of that, their next recourse is to bring the matter to the Supreme Court. Mobile journalist Julie Baiza, We're One News.
Well, as debates rage on the fate of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial, Malacanang maintains that President Marcos will not intervene. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the matter is already in the hands of the Senate. Castro also gave the same reply when asked about the supposed resolution seeking to dismiss the impeachment case against Duterte.
Kung matuloy po o hindi matuloy ang impeachment, mukhang hindi na po yan sakop ng ating Pangulo. Ang gusto lang namin pong parating, sana po ay wag ipahid sa Pangulo kung ano man po ang magiging desisyon ng Senado dyan.
Yuse Castro also asked about Sebastian Duterte's latest remarks against the president. While at The Hague, the Davao City Vice Mayor claimed that the recent cabinet revamp merely targeted Solicitor General Menardo Guevara. Guevara had earlier chosen to remove or recuse himself from defending the government in cases challenging former President Rodrigo Duterte's ICC arrest. Baste, who is Davao City's incoming vice mayor, with his father replacing him as mayor, also called Marcos a liar on his offer to reconcile with the Dutertes. The palace spokesperson said the younger Duterte seems to be misinformed.
Pinapansin pa ba si Mayor Baste Duterte sa kanyang mga sinasabi? Can we expect any nice word from him? Napakinggan niya mabuti kung ano ang bawat salitang nanggaling sa Pangulo. Tinanong po siya ni Mr. Anthony Taberna kung open ba siya for reconciliation. If I'm not mistaken, that's the word. Open. Right? Not offer. O siya ay napapaligiran ng mga fake news peddlers na kung ano-ano ang sinasabi sa kanyang mga idea. So, nakakaawa po.
We've heard most of the arguments, pros and cons, on the delay of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial. And tonight we seek the insights of one of the framers of our 1987 Constitution. Good evening and welcome to The Big Story, Attorney Christian Monsod. Thank you for coming.
Good evening. Good evening.
Well, Attorney, what do you make of this resolution now seeking a dismissal of the impeachment complaint?
Well, Ayan, it will not succeed. This Constitution is very clear that once the articles of impeachment comes from the House, that the Senate should forthwith proceed. Very clear.
But they may have the numbers. And it may...
Not a matter of numbers. If yung mga iba, yung mga senator, maski na anong iboto nila, we will go, I mean, the prosecution will get to the Supreme Court. Because the Supreme Court, in the system of checks and balances, has the power to determine whether or not there has been a grave abuse of discretion amounting to lack or excess of jurisdiction on the part of any branch or instrumentality of the government.
So, Attorney, can we say that this is a delaying tactic?
Well, maybe it's a delaying tactic because they think that the 20th Congress cannot proceed anymore. In other words, that the impeachment case dies with the 19th Congress. They are wrong. They are wrong. The Senate is really a continuing body, and the case must be finished, must be the trial must be conducted, and the Senate must act on the impeachment charges.
Attorney Monson, when it comes to the Supreme Court, you know, being the arbiter of the Constitution, vis-a-vis, no, some senators saying that this is all within Senate rules, that it would be up to the Senate. There are some legal opinions that, you know, hindi makikialam yung Supreme Court. What are your thoughts on that? Will the Supreme Court actually step in?
You cannot talk sense to people who don't study, right? And to me, you know, they must look at it this way. Yung impeachment, yung Article 11 of the Constitution on impeachment process for specific government officials, that arises, that those are protections for the people. Now, the sovereignty resides in the people, in our Constitution, resides in the people, and our government authority emanates from them. So all government officials appointed or elected are servants of the people or they're agents of the people who have the sovereignty. Now, we needed this Article 11 on impeachment in order to remove from government and disqualify them from public office people who have betrayed the public trust, because public office is a public trust. And for crimes of treason, you know, violation of the Constitution, graft and corruption, other high crimes, but betrayal of public trust. Now, so what I'm saying is that they look at it from a different angle. Those, Article 11 and impeachment is there to protect the people from government officials who are not exercising their powers correctly. And they're named in Article 11, as you know, and therefore that they cannot stop the process where it is the people, the principals. You see, the people are the principals, and the government are just their servants and agents of the people. They cannot stop the process to protect the people.
Attorney, so what you are telling us is this is the crux of the matter and we should not be sidelined by all these precedents that are being cited. For instance, Senator Tolentino cites several precedents.
Yes. Well, you know, when he talks about due process and so on, the people are entitled to due process. And the process is explicitly said in the Constitution. It's the duty of the Senate to try the case as a trial court. That is, in other words, that's not their part of the regular legislative power, but it is the job of the Senate to protect the people who are their bosses, the principals of all government officials, whether elected or appointed.
Parang nakalimutan na nila kung sino ang boss nila.
Yes, nakalimutan nila kung sino poprotektahan. That's why we had a separate article on the Constitution on accountability of public officials. Diba? That's why we have it, because the people are entitled to be protected from public officials who have betrayed the public trust.
But if they barrel away and do this, you know, on June 11, what is the recourse?
Supreme Court.
So another delay.
Well, still, they cannot stop that process.
You know, Attorney, last week, former Senate President Frank Drilon, in a TV interview, he said that, you know, no matter how this goes, it's going to end up with the Supreme Court because the issues, no, whether kung pwedeng tumawid from 19th to 20th Congress, that's still kind of up in the air, although most legal luminaries agree na pwede. Do you see the same, that no matter what happens, talagang mag-e-end ito sa SC?
What do you mean? No matter what?
Kung matuloy, kung magtumawid, whatever happens to this impeachment trial.
That trial will continue. They cannot stop it.
On another note, Attorney, you also have Senate President Cheese Escudero saying that nothing binds the 19th Congress and the 20th Congress. He even said, in the end, the plenary is supreme. I mean, Senator Cheese is a lawyer, so how surprising is it for him to say something like that?
What did he say? That is contrary to the point that the Senate is a continuing body, and they continue what started. The 20th Congress can continue what started in the 19th Congress. This is not an ordinary bill. You see, when it is a bill which is an exercise of the legislative powers, yung hindi natapos ng 19th Congress are deemed terminated. This is a special provision of the Constitution on the Senate acting as a judicial process, right? In the judicial process.
So we shouldn't apply the rules that are for their legislative tasks.
Correct. That's right. You cannot apply those are different. And the process in the case of impeachment is explicitly said in the Constitution.
But what they are saying is because there's no more time, then that means it should be dismissed, which is...
that's in the first place, that's a stupid comment, right? Because parang sinasabi nila na, you know, they're protecting the public servant or agent of the sovereign people, protecting them rather than protecting the people. That is, you know, hindi yata nagbabasa ng Constitution yan eh.
Okay, so when the Constitution says, Attorney Monso, that the Senate can basically make the rules, make about the rules of the impeachment trial and how it will go, ano po yung naglilimit sa kanila? At what limits should they? Yeah.
Yeah, the Senate can provide its own rules of procedure. Wala naman yun. I mean, remember that not all senators are lawyers. So, for example, yung beyond reasonable doubt na conviction is not applicable here, right? This is not like that. As if you notice, the penalty for conviction is removal from office and disqualification from public office. There is no imprisonment. There's nothing. It's just removing a public servant who had betrayed the public trust.
And what about the senators, Attorney? Some people are now mad, flooding, the Facebook pages of these senators with negative comments. What is the recourse? Because they are elected officials, and as we already determined, tayo yung boss nila, but they're not listening. What can we do?
Well, let's see what happens. I don't think that their move to have the case dismissed will happen. If they want the vice president, for example, to be acquitted, they must have 9 votes. Diba? And if they don't get the 9 votes, then she will be convicted. And she will step down as vice president and cannot be in any public service anymore. Is disqualified. Yun lang naman eh. That's what I said. That this process is to protect the people from public officers who have not done their job.
Pero pwede rin hindi nila makuha yung boto na yan.
Pwede rin. Pwede hindi makuha yung 16. Well, that's how democracy functions. Right? They may have 9 votes, and so she will be acquitted.
But now, once again, Senate President Cheese Escudero keeps repeating that the House took their time, dragged their feet, and now, I mean, it's water under the bridge. But he's still repeating this argument.
Well, the Senate is also dragging her feet. It was delivered the impeachment articles of impeachment delivered to them February 5, right? but it's not. It's June 2 and then to move it back to June 11. You know, and then they're now saying that the delay, because of the delay, the right to due process of Vice President Duterte has been violated, and therefore it should be dismissed. Well, who delayed it? Who delayed the process? Di ba sila?
But at the same time, attorney, there's that petition filed by the camp of Vice President Sara Duterte with the Supreme Court, where she said that the House of Representatives committed grave abuse of discretion because they did sit on the first 3 impeachment complaints. So how strong is her argument with the Supreme Court?
Well, kasi nga may rule that only 1 a year, no? Ang impeachment charges. But you know, the lawyers of Duterte said that yung 3 previous ones were what is this? They were stopped, no? Parang sinasabi nila na shelf or whatever it is. It was never
taken up
to the Justice Committee. Now, if you say that number 4 is violates the rule of 1 year, then you can revive the 3.
Yeah, but isn't that a violation in itself, attorney? The fact na hindi nila finorward or ni-refer sa Justice Committee, which they should be doing in a given number of days as per the Constitution, as per the rules. Diba? So, hindi ba yon parang violation then on their part? Pwede ba tong i-bring up ni VP?
No, what I'm saying is that I don't think that Vice President Duterte can evade impeachment proceedings.
Okay, so attorney, by not holding a trial, how dangerous of a precedent would that be? Because you also have Senator Coco Pimentel saying not holding a trial is already tantamount to an acquittal of an impeachable official.
Well, that will not happen.
What is the source of your confidence, attorney?
Because the Constitution is very clear, and then there is a Supreme Court who can intervene if they have abused their discretion. So in that system of checks and balances.
But we know, as Senator Drilon had put it, the gods of Padre Faura do take their time.
What?
They take their time in deliberating. We don't begrudge them that, but this is another delay.
Oh, yeah, you mean the Senate?
The Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court.
Oh, well, I don't know what the status is of the petition filed by Duterte, but you know, I have to trust the Supreme Court because, as the saying goes, the legislative is the purse, the executive is the sword, but the Supreme Court is the conscience of the nation.
And with that, Attorney Monsod, we end this interview and we thank you so much for talking to us.
Okay.
Thank you. That was Constitution expert and former COMELEC chairman, Christian Monsod.
We're just going to take a quick break, but coming up on the big story, the new PNP chief responds to the Human Rights Commission's reminder to proceed with caution when it comes to its bold reforms. That story and more when we return. Stay tuned.
Thanks for staying with us here on The Big Story. It's only been 3 days since he assumed office, but already the PNP chief is finding himself on the receiving end of a flurry of criticism. That story from News 5's Carrie Cater.
General Nicolas Torre vowed the police force's intensified campaign against illegal drugs will be carried out with strict adherence to legal standards and due process. The country's top cop also clarified his directive of more arrests. This is not a race for numbers, he says, but a call for greater diligence and efficiency. He tells police officers, make sure those who will be arrested are alive and will be able to defend themselves in court. Torre was reacting to the Commission on Human Rights concern that this marching order could lead to abuse.
Hindi lang yan para sa drugs, okay? Para yan sa lahat ng criminality. Priority, alisin ang kriminal sa kalsada. So kung may mga snatcher, tambay, mga nanggugulo dyan, hulihin natin, huwag natin pabayaan. Hulihin natin, dalhin natin sa husgado. Titigil lang tayo sa panghuhuli pag wala na tayong makitang kriminal.
Torre also welcomed CHR's reminder to avoid abuse, assuring the agency that due process remains at the heart of his anti-drug campaign.
Magtiwala po tayo sa proseso. Ito po ang nakasaad sa batas. Ito po ang susundin natin. Ito ang proteksyon ng ating human rights.
Aside from the CHR, Torre also responded to Davao City Mayor Sebastian Duterte's criticism of his appointment as PNP chief. The younger Duterte slammed Torre's promotion, saying it was not based on merit. Mayor Duterte also questioned how Torre managed to jump several ranks to become PNP chief.
Rewind lang ng konti sa termino naman ng tatay niya kung sino unang chief PNP. Okay? The first chief PNP of his father is a one-star na naging automatic four-star. Did he ask that? Did he question that?
Torre was referring to former PNP chief and now Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa. He also addressed Vice President Sara Duterte's remark that his appointment is quote-unquote too sketchy. VP Sara cited alleged legal violations during Torre's time as chief of the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group when he served the arrest warrant on former President Rodrigo Duterte. Torre said he respects the Vice President's opinion, but findings of the Senate inquiry on the matter have already been submitted to the Ombudsman.
Again, I respect the opinion of the Vice President and the opinion of everyone regarding the things that we've done during the arrest of Mr. Duterte. The Senate committee is not a disciplinary machinery nor a court that can say if who is right and who is wrong, who is guilty and not guilty. So I think we will answer all those things in a proper forum.
For News 5, Gary Cator, we are One News.
And as we speak, Vice President Sara Duterte is already making her way home to the Philippines from The Hague. The last time she was interviewed, she denied knowledge of moves to have the impeachment case against her canceled. But the VP admits that her camp is also questioning the impeachment crossing into the 20th Congress.
Naku ma'am, hindi ko po alam, no? Hindi ko po nasusundan. Actually, yung mga nangyayari sa Pilipinas kasi magkaiba yung time zone. Pero ang pagkakaintindi ko ay madaming procedural lapses na nangyari na labag sa Constitution. Well, yan ma'am, kina-question din namin yan. Yung pag-crossover from the 19th to the 20th Congress. Yung lawyers ko na lang magsalita, ma'am, kasi papagalitan na naman ako nila.
Vice President Duterte also said that she doesn't believe the impeachment process was postponed because Senate President Ces Escudero is afraid of her. Recall that Akbayan Party List Congressman Percy Sandanya brought this up as the reason for Escudero's move to allegedly delay the VP's trial.
Hindi natatakot yon. In fact, isa siya doon sa mga... Kasama ba siya sa Spice Boys?
Hindi, pero...
Ano ba?
Impeachment ni GMA.
Yes, no?
Yes, 3 times.
Oh yes, there was a group called Spice Boys at the time sa House of Representatives, 'di ba? Yung mga matatapang na mga mga batang congressman. Parang kasali siya doon.
Well, sa impeachment po, siya yung minority floor leader.
Yeah, so anyway, yes, we do not remember him I do not know him na natatakot na klase na politiko. So, hindi ko lang alam saan nanggagaling yung sinasabi na takot si Senator Ces Escudero.
Now in other news, developments are on track in Pagasa Island as the Philippines strengthens military facilities and improves living conditions for residents there. The building goes on amid maritime tensions still raging in that territory. News 5 correspondent Gerard De La Peña reports.
On the new runway at Pagasa Island, a C-130 aircraft landed carrying troops from the Armed Forces of the Philippines. The runway is now long enough to accommodate various aircraft, including large cargo planes. The visit was part of a maritime patrol to assert the Philippines' presence in the area.
Yung ating runway is 100% complete na. So yung mga ancillaries na lang no, sa paligid, yun na lang yung for completion and we're aiming to complete it within the year.
The control tower is nearly finished and will help improve the management of aircraft landings and departures. Meanwhile, construction continues on the port, which will allow larger Navy and Coast Guard vessels to dock directly at the island. Beyond the military facilities, other developments are underway on Pagasa Island. All community roads have been paved with concrete and there is now sufficient electricity supply. Residents are also using desalination equipment to turn salt water into safe drinking water.
We'd like to really look at the future of Pagasa Island and hopefully, no, baka in the near future, tourist spot.
Amid the improvements, Chinese vessels remain visible in the area. Before the aircraft landed, the troops received radio challenges from the China Coast Guard. Local fishermen on Pagasa Island are worried about their livelihood.
Takot na rin yung mga kasama namin maglapit doon. Palapit pa lang kami, inaharangan na po kami ng mga barko nila. Kami na lang po yung umiiwas.
Worse, there have been reports of fish poisoning.
Medyo naghirap na po yung isda sa Pag-asa Kalayaan Island dahil po sa coast ng lason, cyanide ng mga Vietnamese. Sa gabi po nila binubuhos yung lason sa paikot ng isla.
For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
Time to pause for another quick break, but when we return, Malacanang is open to tweaking the PUV modernization program, but it maintains that there is no way the program will be scrapped. Details ahead, keep it here on One News.
When news first broke of a draft resolution to dismiss Vice President Sara Duterte making the rounds at the Senate or the impeachment complaint, some thought it was Senator Francis Tolentino's doing. That's because it echoed his sentiment that the impeachment cannot be carried into the 20th Congress. So tonight, let's clarify this from Senator Tolentino himself. Welcome to the big story, Senator.
Good evening, ladies. Good evening, Sean. Good evening to the viewers as well.
There are reports that there are several resolutions actually circulating. Do you have a hand in any of these?
What hand? Left hand or right hand?
Either.
Both hands? Meron po ba?
I was informed, and I was likewise informed that as you said, the contents of the resolution is similar to the statements that I echoed a few days ago, so I appreciate that. So, suffice it to say, no resolution has yet been filed.
Earlier, the Senate reporters were able to ambush Senator Bato de la Rosa, and he admitted that the draft reso originated from his office, but he did say that he was inspired by the speech that you gave to the plenary. Senator Tolentino, I just wanted to get your thoughts before making that speech. What was going through your mind and your belief na hindi to pwede tumawid sa 20th Congress? You called it functionally dismissed.
What was going on in my mind? Nasa batas po talaga yan eh. Modesty aside, I've read. I've taken exams, constitutional law. I teach constitutional law. I have studied U.S. constitutional law during my younger days. Talagang hindi pwede. Walang nakalagay na words na carry over. A Congress has a lifespan of its own. And its business would automatically terminate after the lapse of the said Congress.
With all due respect, Senator, a lot of the legal luminaries that we have spoken to, including the UP Department of Law that gave pa this big conference last February, they do not agree with you. Were you able to Bakit
the difference probably is because of their belief that the Senate is a continuing body. The first Supreme Court decision relative to this is the Arnold case. The Arnold case was decided under the 1935 Constitution, when the Philippine Senate was still although 24 senators. The staggered elections would involve 8 senators per election cycle. Similar to the United States, they have 100 senators, but 67 senators would remain. So theoretically, mathematically, numerically, they would have a quorum as well as a two-thirds vote sufficient to acquit or convict. So ngayon, wala nang ganun ngayon. We only have 12. The rules of the U.S. Senate is practically different from the rules of the Philippine Senate. So all the jurisprudence that I've been saying, no offense to them, won't apply, especially if you mention the Pickering case, the Judge Louderback case, the Clinton case, and even the recent Trump cases in the United States. So, nag-aral po ako, kumuha po ako ng bar exams din ng U.S. Constitutional Law during my younger days. So, pero sinasabi ko po ganito. Tapos na, ang 19th Congress is different from the 20th Congress. The business of the 19th Congress is totally different from the prospective business of the 20th Congress. At more than that, I've been saying this, the case was received by the 20. Hello?
Yes,
Hello.
I can hear you.
The case was received by the 19th Congress, and the jurisdiction of an impeachment court is vested by law or the Constitution. The 19th Congress cannot confer jurisdiction to the 20th Congress. We're not constitutionally allowed to do that. So those are the basis of my reasoning, ladies.
Okay, but Senator, you did cite SC rulings in Neri versus Senate, Balag versus Senate, where all legislative matters were terminated with the expiration of Congress. But then again, Senator, those were legislative matters. But this impeachment trial, your duty here falls under Article 11 of the Constitution, which you have to do to hold public officials accountable.
Yeah, you are, kumbaga, quasi-judicial and judicial, no? Just to add to Pauline's.
Not just quasi-judicial, it's a sui generis. Because we lawyers call it sui generis. So, you're correct, inciting Balag, inciting Neri, but you have to remember Neri, when Justice Teresita de Castro mentioned that statement that the Senate, though continuing, because it is not dissolved, cannot continue its business. So there is a big difference between the institution as continuing as well as the matters being tackled by that said institution, which cannot continue, whether it is legislative or impeachment or other business. It stops, it lapses, it dies with that Congress, so to speak.
What about your primordial role to uphold the Constitution?
We acknowledge that. We're not evading that. That's why if you read my speech, I start with the fourth tweet. It should be done soonest. In fact, I'm ready. I'm ready to perform my job. I have my robe. I've read and reread several times for the last several days the rules of evidence, which would be suppletory in terms of the impeachment trial. So I'm ready. We're not shrinking from our responsibility. The primordial role stays the same. In fact, the content of my theory is this. If we have to start the case, we have to do it now. But we have to end by June 30, because that's the time when the 19th Congress lapses.
So are you...
If we have to do it day and night, we have to do it day and night.
So are you saying you're not inclined to support this resolution that's making the rounds of the Senate?
What I'm saying is this. I'm consistent with my speech. What I'm saying is this. If we do not finish that by June 30, it is considered as functionally dismissed by operation of the Constitution. I still hold that. And I am willing to perform. Even tomorrow, I can start. Sinabi ko nga, I even
have a copy with me, the latest impeachment rules used by the U.S. Senate during the Trump impeachment trial.
Okay. Loud and clear.
I even have, yes.
Loud and clear on that.
So hindi tayo umiiwas doon. Yung primordial duty stays, hindi tayo umiiwas. But finish it before June 30.
Okay. But having said that, no, Senator, and of course we hear you on that, your opinion, pag napunta sa inyo yung resolution and hindi na siya draft, let's say this resolution does get passed around, theoretically, are you going to support it?
I have yet to read the resolution, but if the content of the resolution is similar to my speech, which is now part of the records of the Senate, I will have to sign it. Because what you said a while ago, Senator Bato was inspired by my speech. So I have to be consistent with what I have delivered a few days ago, which is constitutionally sound.
The resolution
and legally
actually,
fair.
the resolution actually dismisses it. Dismisses the articles of impeachment because of the lack of time.
But what about the where assessed? I have yet to read it. What about the where assessed? If it is similar to my speech, I have to be consistent. I have to sign it.
So you really haven't gotten a copy because even some of the incoming senators have gotten soft copies on Viber, and we've seen it as well, Senator. No colleague has messaged you about it?
I've seen some Facebook accounts concerning it, but I don't have a printed copy. So this is my final word, perhaps. I stand with what I delivered last Monday.
Which
on the basis of the Constitution, which are, it's a 3-page speech. If you want to have a copy, it will come out tomorrow. I think it will be published by the Manila Bulletin.
Okay, but just to sum it up, the main point is that you want it finished by the 19th Congress before June 30, right?
June 30, yes. That's the constitutional clock deadline. Otherwise, anything that we do would be ultra vires or beyond our constitutional authority.
All right, that means you believe there is still time for the Senate, for the 19th Congress, for the Senate to constitute itself as an impeachment court and to take up the matter.
Yes.
How would it happen, Senator? I mean, just as it stands, if you look at the calendar, parang imposible na po yan eh. If you will tackle this on June 11, it's a holiday the next day, you adjourn on June 13.
Let's not raise our voices. You will have, cool it down,
ma'am, lady.
Senator. I'm a lawyer several times. I teach constitutional law. The Senate President informed us that we will have a presentment this coming June 11, which in the first place, I'm not totally agreeable. Presentment should be done before an impeachment court. So we have to be constituted first, take our oath, and do our mandate as trial judges, not just before the plenary. So as I was informed, immediately after the presentment, we will be constituted as a court. There will be a time for the issuance of a summons and time for the respondent to answer. Thereafter, if it is 10 days, that would be June 21. And the clock starts ticking. We can do a pre-trial, we can do a daily trial, we can have stipulation of facts. We can do it. I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to head even a group of judges to receive evidence. So we can fast-track this. But acknowledging the procedural rights of the respondent as well, the substantive rights, the right to speedy trial, and the right to have an impartial judgment.
Yung 10 days right of reply kasi for Vice President Sara Duterte, that really takes up all the days. No? But I'm curious.
It can be shortened. It can be shortened. I think it can be shortened because the articles of impeachment is now of public record. it is not the first time that we will be seeing it. In fact, the presentment is just a ceremonial presentment, quote unquote. We have seen the articles of impeachment as early as February 5. There are no surprises here. The wordings of the articles of impeachment, as shown to us, as filed last February 5, would still be the same articles of impeachment that we would be hearing come June 11. And the same articles of impeachment, I think, has been shown to the office of the Vice President. So there will be no surprises here.
Senator, very, very quickly lang, no? Were you informed na mapopostpone from June 2 to 11 yung reading of the articles?
Wala po.
So nagulat ka rin? Nagulat din kayo?
Textman.
Okay.
Textman.
I was curious. Sige. Thank you so much.
I'm supposed to be, ladies, I'm supposed to be the chairman of the Committee on Rules as majority leader. So sa akin dapat unang babagsak yun. But I was not informed. Nalaman ko na lang nakatanggap kami ng sulat. Okay. So the Senate President probably is in good faith. We presume regularity on the part of the Senate President. But if given the chance, I recall your words again, primordial, we are willing. I am more than willing. In fact, kung kailangan magbasa ko ngayong gabi uli ng rules of evidence, hindi lang in our jurisdiction, but even the federal rules of evidence, I will do that
All right.
to fulfill my duties.
Thank you so much, Senator Francis Tolentino, for joining us on the big
salamat,
story.
ladies. Dagang salamat.
And for
Opo,
all your
salamat po.
clarifications. Marami pong salamat. Meantime, Transportation Secretary Vince Dizon admits the PUV modernization program is no longer viable in its current form. Speaking before the Commission on Appointments, Dizon said many transport cooperatives cannot repay loans for modern vehicles. He also noted that only around 40% of public utility vehicles have consolidated and joined cooperatives as required by the program. Dizon added less than 20% of local government units have rationalized routes, issues that further hinder the program's progress under its present design.
Given the present state of the modernization and kung itutuloy-tuloy yan po, tingin ko po yung fact na hindi na nakakabayad ng utang ang karamihan sa mga bumili ng bagong mga sasakyan. That is a clear sign that it is not viable in its present state.
Meantime, the palace says President Bongbong Marcos supports the DOTR's call to hold off the PUV modernization program. But the palace reiterates the PUVMP stays and only needs tweaking.
So kailangan po talagang i-prepare ang mga concerned na mga drivers natin, operators natin, para sa paggawa at pag-manage, pag-operate ng isang kooperatiba. Pangalawa, karoon pa po na ibang suppliers, no? Manufacturers. Para po kung makakapagbigay sila mas mura na sasakyan or vehicle para sa ating mga operators at drivers. Pangatlo po na issue ay patungkol po sa loan. Kailangan din po na kayanin ng ating mga kababayan ang interest or yung pagbabayad sa utang. So, pati po yung mga ruta. May mga ruta po kasi naman na hindi dinadaanan ng maraming jeepneys. So, yan din po ay dapat isaayos with the LGUs. At yan po naman ay pinakinggan ng ating Pangulo. Pero tandaan po natin, tuloy pa rin po ang PUV modernization program.
In other news, the House of Representatives has just approved a 200 peso across-the-board daily wage hike for minimum wage earners. This is the very first legislative pay increase in nearly 4 decades. House Bill number 11376, or the Proposed Wage Hike for Minimum Wage Workers Act, passed on the third and final reading with 172 votes in favor and 1 abstention. The 200 peso wage hike is higher than what the Senate passed in February of 2024. Senate Bill 2534 proposed an increase of 100 pesos, opening the floor for bicameral talks. Representative Raymond Mendoza of the Trade Union Congress of the Philippines, one of the bill's principal authors, urges the president to sign this bill into law, saying it may be a defining moment in his presidency. This increase covers all private sector minimum wage earners, including contractual and agricultural workers. To ease the burden, small businesses affected by the hike may seek incentives from the Labor Department. Some industries may also apply for exemptions, such as those affected by natural disasters and service establishments that regularly employ more than 10 people. More importantly, existing benefits and allowances will remain protected under this measure.
And finally, for our big picture tonight, the Supreme Court has launched the Judicial Burnout Scale app, a mental health tool built for Filipino judges to detect early signs of burnout. The launch last May 30 was led by Chief Justice Alexander Gesmundo and SC Associate Justice Mario Lopez. Gesmundo said that judges are vulnerable to burnout and trauma due to, quote, the weight of life-altering decisions. The app was based on the Guilford-Zimmerman Temperament Survey and adapted to suit Philippine context. It was developed by the SC Governing Council for Mental Health Technical Working Group, together with clinical psychologists under the SC Cares program. The app was also tested on over 300 judges during the Regional Mental Health Summit in Davao last May 23. Judges can access the app via Microsoft Power Apps or through their browsers. There are plans to roll it out to court personnel soon.
Nabitin ako, wala yung results
Wala
from the
na.
dry
From
run.
300.
How many kaya are burnt
Oo nga,
out?
and I wanted to know what's in the app. Yoga ba yan? Meditation?
Or yung parang oral sounds, di ba? On a
Yeah.
different frequency.
Diba?
Pa-share naman, SC.
Oh, we need the details. Chief Justice.
I know. Or our SC spokesperson, Camille Ting. Maybe we can invite her and ask her about this app.
Yeah. Diba?
Lots of people experience burnout, diba?
Yeah.
So,
Ourselves included.
all right, and that's the show this Wednesday evening. Thank you so much for watching.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
The big story is back tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. We'll see you then. Have a good night, everyone.